guys, how are you all doing? It's a girl Cindy and I'm back again today with another gist. I trust you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. So people are reacting to this video right here. This white woman is asking this question basically to black people. Now she asks, why do we critique white men than we critique white women? Please check the video out.
So I understand why we critique white women so much for upholding their own oppression. Because we do. But why do we critique white women more than we critique white men? Could it be sexism?
So did she say we? Like, who are we? This is basically the questions people are asking in her comment section. And it is the fact that she is pretending, or she pretended like she don't know the answer, which she literally answered anyways in that video. Guys, I have put together a few stitches. Of course, a lot of people stitched her video. I have put together a few stitches. Let's just hear what they're saying, and of course, I'm going to show you some comments I grabbed from her comment section. Please check the stitches out.
Why do we critique white women more than we critique white men?
We actually don't, but I think I know why you believe we do. This is going to be a long one, let's dance. It's because that for the longest time, white women have quite literally been using, of course not all white women, just put that out there. White women have been using the oppression of them being women as some sort of offset attempt to wash out the privilege that they have with being white. Or at least what they'll do is when white women are called on their nonsense from pretty much any perspective, they use their gender as an excuse to get out of being responsible or accountable. This is related to Karen behavior, to where Karen behavior is basically typically white women who use their privilege and entitlement and weaponize it against other people to do things that they want, that they should not be doing, and have no problem harming other people to get what they want. And even when that term kicked off and became a major thing, what did even high-profile white feminists do? Some high-profile white feminists do. They tried to hijack the conversation and spin the term as, this term is really about misogyny and trying to silence the voices of women who are bold enough to speak up for each other. It's almost like they were trying to act like the term wasn't being focused on white women, because all you would have to do is just sit back and ask yourself, well, if the Karen term is supposed to be silencing women that speak up for themselves, why is it being used almost exclusively against white women? Black women weren't being called Karen. Latin women weren't being called Karen. Asian women weren't being called Karen. Or at least they were not being called Karen to anywhere near the degree that white women have been. But they still tried to turn it and say, this is really about silencing and oppressing women, when really it was just calling them out on their entitlement and their privilege that they've been using as a weapon against all walks of life. Long story short, to get down to it, white women basically have been using white men as their personal scapegoat to get out of being held responsible and accountable for their hand in racism and white supremacy for years. People are getting wise to it, and they see that people are getting wise to it, and they are getting uncomfortable. So essentially, all you got to do now is recognize that you are in that same place that white men have been in for a very long time, and realize it's time for your talking to as well.
Why do we critique white women more than we critique white men?
Who's we? Who's this we you speak of? And I have the fucking answer. White men do not profess their allegiance with marginalized groups in order to get ahead and then leave them behind as soon as they get what they want. They don't even have to pretend to have allegiance to anyone but themselves. White women will sidle up to marginalized groups, pretend to be friends, to pretend to be allies, pretend. And then, as soon as they get their way and have centered themselves, they drop everything and the act is up. Like this video, y'all keep inserting yourselves into the center of the conversation and then get mad when people have that conversation. Okay, that's why.
Why do we critique white women more than we critique white men?
Fair question. I have an answer. Because white women don't only participate in their own oppression, they perpetuate it. If white women wanted to, they could collectively end their own oppression and the oppression of so many other people. But they choose not to. For their own comfort and their own place in the hierarchy of whiteness. Because who raises those white men? Who raises them? White women could end this, but they won't.
So I understand why we critique white women so much for...
So even though I'm a white man, I'm a cis straight white man, and I understand that, it does seem like sometimes we get away with too much. And I have been someone, by the way, who has critiqued other white men for their class reduction, for their lack of empathy. But here's one thing I will say about this video, and I'm not the only one saying this, okay? I'm just going to leave it with a quote that a woman told me that I used to work with, a really smart woman too. I would rather dance with the devil I know than the one I don't know. Does that really answer your question? And I see other people saying it in your comments. I've seen it on Crutches and Spice's video. Essentially, what I'm just trying to say here is, I don't really think most white men are hiding who they are. I mean, they rarely ever advocate for marginalized groups. They frickin' defend their bigotry of the freedom of speech. They're so egotistical, they have to have a street pride rally. They talk about, social issues as if they're just SJW terms or not important issues, and we need to talk about real issues. Even the leftist white men reduce everything to class and act like racism doesn't exist, bigotry, etc. And don't get me wrong, that's absolutely disgusting what they become. It's absolutely sick. But we know who they are. I think a lot of these white women, and I've noticed it myself, are putting on a show, putting the little BLM in their profile, saying I'm an intersectional feminist, and not doing jack diddly shit. And I've seen some of them even make subtly racist shit. I just saw a woman on here who claimed to have BLM in her profile, blaming poor black people in the Southeast for complaining about student loan debt. And before you say, did she actually say that? No, of course she didn't. She said poor people in the South have no room to complain about student loan debt when they voted against it. Even though the poor people in the South that she's referring to, in Jackson, Mississippi, in Durham, North Carolina, in Memphis, Tennessee, in Atlanta, Georgia, in parts of Florida, places with a lot of black populations are really just black people who are struggling and not voting against their best interests. So there are a lot of things I've seen. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, feel free to criticize cis straight white men. I've taken criticism. I know we've got a lot of issues, obviously. Historically, we've kind of ruined the whole world, but I just don't think anybody's hiding who they are. I mean, I really don't know any white men who are hiding who they are. They're unfortunately very open about their bullshit.
Why do we critique white women more than we critique white men?
Because white women always insert themselves into the conversation about things, just as you are doing right now. White men are who we thought they were. They're always going to be what they are, and it is what it is. But white women will continue to insert themselves into the conversation, act buddy-buddy with minority of unmarginalized groups, take the glory for themselves, and once they get what they want, they dip out everything. Not everything is about y'all, but again, as you're doing now, y'all continue to make it about y'all.
So like I said, I took some screenshots of comments from her comment section so you guys can see what other people said about the video. Please pause to read if you want to. Now, it is the fact that she was liking the comment that says sexism. It is that for me. Now, it is not sexism, and she knows that. She literally answered the question. Yo, you can go and watch that video again. She literally answered the question. Now, this is like the previous video I did where black women were asked to choose to be in a room, either with a white man or with a white woman. And of course, they chose the white man and they gave their reasons. White man would not pretend, he would keep a straight face, but a white woman would literally like smile, laugh, or you all know all of this. And she knows the answers. Now, coming on the internet, like to make this video literally asking this question, it is that for me. And then secondly, liking the comment that says sexism. And of course, those comments were from some white women. Anyways, let me know your take in the comments, guys, and thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and of course, come back for another video. I'm gonna see you all in my next one. Y'all take care. I love you. Bye.